Each campaign year around this time, we start to hear the quote, "As goes Ohio, so goes the nation," explaining why the Senate race in this bellwether state is attracting so much attention. According to that new McClatchy MSNBC poll we've been referring to, Democratic challenger Representative Sherrod Brown has pulled 8 points ahead of two-term Senator Mike DeWine. And Congressman Brown joins me now live from Cincinnati. Congressman Brown, good day to you. Thanks for making time for us.
Thanks, Lester. Good to be back with you.
You know, we have talked so much about Iraq in terms of this election, but in Ohio, the #1 issue voters are concerned about is the economy. The White House is saying right now, hey, we're not getting credit, that the economy is turning around in very significant and measurable ways. Even in Ohio, where things haven't been quite as bright, there are more jobs there than there were in '04. How do you view the economy in Ohio, and why is it not a bigger issue in that state?
Well, if people in Ohio want to stay the course in Iraq and want to continue the same policies from Governor Taft and President Bush on jobs and health care and education, then they vote for Mike DeWine. But people want a senator instead who will stand up for the middle class and stand up to these interest groups. We've lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs since Mike DeWine and George Bush were sworn in 5.5 years ago. We've lost 100,000 Ohioans have lost their health insurance. College education has doubled. Tuition has doubled in the last 5 or 6 years, and people have had enough with the corruption here and had enough with how out of touch Mike DeWine is. And
but when you look at the economic
numbers,
on a whole nationally, would it not seem to suggest that Ohio would be following in line at some point?
Well, perhaps, but the economic numbers nationally, people that say things like that have been out of touch by and large. I mean, George Bush talks about a better economy. The fact is, for most workers, they've seen stagnant wages. They're anxious about their jobs going overseas. They're anxious about losing their health insurance. They're anxious about their pensions. And for most people, they haven't had a raise, but they've seen gas prices and drug prices and health care costs go up. So this is not the great economy that George Bush says. There are more profits. If you're in the top 1%, you're making more money. Maybe if you're in the top 5%, you're making more money. But most people think that this crowd in Washington has betrayed the middle class. They've done tax cuts for the rich, not helped the middle class. They've not helped on any of these issues.
Well, Congressman, since our time is short, let's turn to Iraq, because a lot of your support comes from voters who are very concerned about the situation in Iraq. You have proposed, you support at least the idea of a timetable for withdrawing from Iraq within 24 months. As you know, the administration now has set out a series of benchmarks for the Iraqi government to kind of get their house in order. Does that change your view, and would you be less inclined to go for a timetable for a withdrawal as long as there's a timetable for the Iraqi government?
Well, I haven't seen anything new out of the administration. It's just this stay the course policy. Occasionally they make an announcement to make it look like they've actually changed direction. But we first of all need to push the Iraqis into building a military and police security force. We need to push the Sunnis, the Shiites, and the Kurds into coming to a political compromise,
and
sharing oil revenues. And if they do, well, no, the only way they will, they're not doing it. Excuse me, they're not doing it now, because they think we're going to stay. If we need to instruct the generals to come up with a withdrawal strategy over the next 18 months to 2 years, and then the Iraqis are more likely to take care of themselves, because they're not doing it now because they think we're staying.
If the insurgency continues at the rate it's continuing and there is a withdrawal, how do you sell that as anything other than a defeat for the U.S.?
Well, I think we're already seeing a civil war in Iraq. American soldiers in our country shouldn't be refereeing a civil war in Iraq. This stay-the-course strategy is not working, and we need to rely on the military to figure out a withdrawal, a redeployment strategy in the next 18 months to 2 years.
Congressman Sherrod Brown, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for being with us.